This is a podcast about our lived experience, which unfortunately includes infant death and subsequent mental health struggles. Please take good care of yourself and only listen if this content feels safe for you right now. We'll still be here when you're ready.
Hi, I'm Judith.
And I'm Alina. We are internet friends turned real-life friends who both experienced the tragic loss of our sons to sudden infant death syndrome in winter of 2021.
In the year after Aiden died, my husband and I both became unemployed, my parents divorced, and we had to move 5 times for various reasons.
And as for me, just a few weeks before my son Quinn died, my then husband had come out to me as a transgender woman and were subsequently divorcing.
It's been a lot.
It's been a lot.
But as long as we're living, we will love our sons deeply and work to make sure that we live a life that makes them proud.
Welcome to As Long As I'm Living podcast.
We're so glad you're here.
So this episode is going to be airing on March 7th. And March 4th is Aiden's death anniversary. So Judith, by the time you guys are listening to this, will have made it through the death anniversary. How are you feeling about it leading up to it? We're recording this before, obviously.
I always look to you to see how you do as a measure of how I'm going to do. Like, I'm always like, how did Alina do it? If Alina did it that way, then like, it'll probably be a similar experience for me, which I find super helpful. But, you know, I think it's interesting because this time I think my experience has been slightly different than yours. Like, I remember the whole month you were like jittery and on edge.
Yes.
I've certainly had days like that, but I don't think as a whole I've been jittery and on edge.
To be fair though, I did also have, like, we were selling the house and there was a lot of shit going on.
There was a lot going on.
Yeah.
Well, or we could just say, Alina, or we could just say like your baby died, and that's like a perfectly normal way to respond. It's just mine. Like, you don't need to have a reason. That's just like how you reacted.
Yep.
And like for me, I reacted like crazy different to like random Jewish holidays that, you know, wouldn't even, or not even Jewish holidays, like the way that even minor ones, like the Hebrew date of things, like I don't even think, even if you celebrated that, it would occur to you. But like to me, it sent me off the edge. So sometimes
and like you and I, actually, we responded pretty differently to Aiden and Quinn's birthdays.
Yeah, too. We did respond differently because your tendency was to close in.
Yeah.
And I insisted on making a fucking cake and inviting everyone to a birthday party. So there are times where we do respond differently. But one thing that I know you and I have spoke about, so I want to talk about on the podcast also, is like how I view this day in general and how I'm trying to view the day. Mm-hmm. Like, I know you said that you felt like it was a day just that where you and Quinn felt really close, you know, and it was almost like a non-day for you.
Yeah. Like I was really surprised. I thought the whole day was going to just be like one big panic attack. And it turned out that it kind of felt like just kind of like a normal day. And the whole day I was like waiting for the other shoe to drop. And then just like I went to bed and the next morning I woke up and the death anniversary was over. And I was like, okay, well.
But also for his birthday, I know for me, for his birthday, it was a bad day.
I actually loved Quinn's birthday. I mean, I wish he were there for it. Obviously, like that was not how I imagined my son's first birthday, but I had a really lovely day on Quinn's birthday.
Yeah. So I don't know how this day is going to go for me, but I feel like leading up to it, I'm trying my best to like maintain, like I'm trying to think about what he's thinking about all this. Like, and I don't think for him, the day of his death is a big deal.
Yeah.
I think that like, maybe it's like my 18th birthday, you know, like now you can do more things, but you're the same person, you know, like maybe he's just transitioned into a different state. But like for him, I don't think that he is longing for me in the way that I'm longing for him.
I think that I completely agree. I long for Quinn, but I think he is like, yeah, I'm right here. And he knows I miss him, but I don't think he's like wishing we were together. Like, I think he feels like we are together.
I don't think so. I think he's content. I think he feels, I don't think people in the afterlife suffer. I mean, maybe Hitler, but I don't think in general.
I hope Hitler is suffering.
I hope Hitler, but I think in general, like, I don't think they suffer. And I, like my therapist was telling me that she like did a lot of research on like what are those things called? Like death, life experiences where you like die for a minute.
Oh, what is that called? That's called a near-death experience.
A near-death experience. She's like, I've done a lot of research on near-death experiences, and like everyone talks about being at peace, being at calm, like wanting to follow the light. It might not have been their time, but like the light was a calming, peaceful presence that they were that they weren't upset to be there.
Right.
But I think, yeah, so for me, I feel like for him, it's not a sad day. I suppose for his birthday, which like I felt like was just a really sad day because, well, I felt like it should have been a happy day.
That's right.
It should have been a happy day. So it was hard that it was sad. Oh my God, I have the exact same mug.
This is your Aiden mug.
That is my Aiden mug.
It's also my Alina mug. To our listeners who can't see us, obviously, I am drinking coffee out of, it's like an anthropology mug that has an A on it, and Judith has the same one for Aiden, but I have it for myself. My mom got it for me.
Man, that was confusing. For a minute, I was like, how did that get there? Anyway, okay, so that's my thoughts about it. And so because I'm trying to think about that from his perspective, and I'm sure that I will be so sad. I'm not saying I won't be sad. I'm sure that I will be devastatingly sad. But I'm trying my best to also think about, like, if this day isn't about him necessarily, because like that, I don't want to remember the day he died. Like to me, that day is not a day with him. But I do think that it's a day about me, because I really felt like I died when he died, but like I had to keep living. I died when he died, but I had to keep living, which was like it's such a horrific burden. To live when you want to die. And it feels like, to me, like this is a year of transformation. To me, this is like an anniversary of our transformation into these new grieving people. And it feels like a time to really celebrate the year I've had. Not celebrate, but to like grieve and honor the year I've had. The fact that I've been through hell and I was able to still live.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking about
that's a beautiful way to think about it, I think.
I mean, don't you think for yourself, like there were times where I thought I could never get through this. Like I do not want to do 1 minute longer.
Absolutely.
I do not want to do 1 minute longer.
Yeah. I mean, they're yeah, for sure. For sure.
So how would you honor yourself on the 1 year anniversary of the worst day of your life? Tell me, how would you honor yourself?
We'll throw that out to the listeners.
We'll throw that out to the listeners. I mean, the only thing I can think of is like writing a letter to myself.
Well, you know, like, I did the painting. So one of the things I did leading up to the death anniversary, actually, I think I did it the night before his death anniversary, was I sat and kind of just like thought about the times in the past year that I was glad I was still alive for. And there were 9, only 9 times that I was really glad I was alive. Obviously there were plenty of other times that I felt neutral.
Yeah.
You know, and there were also plenty of times I wished I were dead, but there were 9 times. And then I painted that rainbow rings. I started a rainbow rings. Remember?
Yeah, I do remember. I'm trying to think of what were the times that I was so glad to be alive.
Yeah.
I can think of 2. That's it. That's sad.
It's kind of pathetic,
I can think of 2. 3, because I did enjoy the weekend that we had together.
That's one of mine.
And 4 the weekend after. So 4. I can think of 4 weekends. Oh, and 5. Sorry, when I found out I was pregnant. Okay. There were 5 times an entire year that I felt like I was glad to be alive. It just was such like when I think about how much I endured this year, I get overwhelmed with like emotion for myself. Like, what do I wish I could tell myself? Like, I think these are some things I'm thinking about. Like, okay, if you could go back to March 3rd, the day before you died, like, what would you say?
I would not say anything. I would not say anything to me the day before he died.
What would you say the week before? Or the month before?
I mean, like, I wouldn't want to mention anything before he died. I wouldn't want any warning about it.
I wouldn't either.
But like, let's say like on January 20th, or for you, like March 6th, like what would I want to tell myself? And I think I think what I would want to tell myself, and like this is what I say to if I'm talking to a newly bereaved parent, like through a support group or whatever, if I'm, now that I'm further out from the loss, I'm like one of the helpers a lot of the time, which feels weird because to be in that place as
Yeah.
opposed to being the one who's like a hot mess. I mean, I am a hot mess, but and I think like what I would have wanted to hear and what some people did say to me is like, it's not this bad forever. Like, I think I felt like, oh, my son will be dead forever. So I'm going to be this distressed forever. And the truth is that that's just not true. Like,
Yeah.
I did laugh again. I do laugh again. I still have some joy in my life. Like, I was able to enjoy things. I'm starting to get some semblance of normalcy. Kind of on that note, I cooked last night.
Yeah, the bolognese. How'd it go?
So it came out great. I also cried the whole time.
Why?
I was so acutely aware that like this was something that would have been very easy for me to do before, and it was something I was very comfortable doing before, and I just was really feeling the lack, like
Was
I was
it hard?
it wasn't hard to do. It didn't feel natural, and it used to feel natural. I felt like I was like really like I had to like look at the recipe and like, like I was like cooking in a kitchen I had never cooked in. Like I was like, do I even have a cutting board? Like it was like a whole, I don't know. I just was really aware that I am different now. And I think it felt good to do. Like it felt.
So I'm saying a transformation, Alina. You
Yeah.
see, we transformed. We're different people now.
We are different.
So like this new person, okay, the last person, let me just get to my meta thought here, had 29 years of like building of support of, I want to say like positive reinforcement, had 29 years of just like adoration, like you had time to, I don't know, you had time to groom and tend to that person. This new person has only been here for 1 year. 1 year. She's still a baby. Think of a 1-year-old baby. I mean, we can't.
I don't want to.
That like that's it. This new person is that old.
Yeah, you're right.
I know. Wait, do I sound higher or am I making sense?
If you sound high, I also probably sound high because you are making perfect sense to me.
I'm
But I
making
do think
sense.
it's a little bit of a high thought, but I love it.
Okay.
I think it's really.
But stay with me here.
I'm with
like
you.
We have this person, this new person doesn't have 29 years of knowing them, of supporting them, of having positive reinforcement, of having good grades or accomplishing a college degree or having a first job. So this new person, like I feel like needs tending to, love, support. Like I just want to hug this new person and be like, you did it. You're doing such a good job. Like I want to celebrate and honor her because she is impressing me.
Yes.
Yeah. She's
Yeah.
impressing me. Like, I wish we could just give a round. I feel like we need to just all take a moment and give a round of applause for people who've been through hell this past year and are still living and started over completely from scratch and somehow have found a way to live and like be happy and to be excited about coffee in the morning. Like let's just like raise her up and not be like, I'm so proud, you're so strong, you're so brave, but just be like, wow, like, yeah, go you.
Yes.
You deserve an A+. We're so proud to like love and nurture and care for this new person.
Yeah. I think that's a really important reframing because I think a lot of the times over the last year, I've been so acutely aware of like comparing myself to the old me and I am so different now. But I think if I only look at it from, January 18th, 2021 to now.
Yes.
Like,
take away everything from January 17th forward.
Yeah.
Wait, back. 17th back. Just completely remove that from your life and just look at from where you came from January 18th to where you are now, which is February something and 26th maybe.
Yes.
20, it's something. And ask yourself like, oh my God, that person could never have made spaghetti bolognese. Never. That person was like literally a baby and that was completely reliant on every single person around her. And all she did was lay in bed and cry.
You're right. Oh my God. I mean, I was feeling something similar to this. I posted on our Instagram. Um, when was that I posted that on our Instagram? Just
I
two
don't know,
days
but it
ago.
was like the cutest thing.
I posted on our Instagram about our little grief retreat, and
Yeah.
looking at those pictures, it was it I felt a lot of feelings looking at those pictures
I didn't
because,
know we had as many as we did.
well, remember we kept trying to get a good picture and none of them, I mean, none of the pictures we have from that trip are good. Looking at those pictures and like even just like looking at my own face, like I can see in my face that I am not well. You know what I mean? Like I can
Yeah.
see that both of our eyes were puffy in some of those in the pictures, like from crying more. And like, I just feel like my skin looks like sallow and like I obviously like my postpartum hair was ridiculous, but that's a separate issue and that would have happened anyway. But I just like don't look good in those pictures. And I don't mean that in like, that's a terrible picture of me way. I just mean like I look unwell and I was
Your
unwell.
skin looks gray.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's no like I feel like that trip was one of the first times that I felt like a little spark of life in my life.
Yeah.
And it's obvious in those pictures that this is a human being. These are two human beings who had not really felt the spark of life in a long time. They'd been dead.
They've been dead.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So just think of how even to get from that, and that was 6 or 7 months out. Like just
Yeah.
think of how much progress we've made in the past 6 months. I mean, yeah, I mean, you still struggle with the spaghetti bolognese, but I think that you're worth celebrating. And I don't know how to celebrate myself. Like I don't know how to tell myself, I don't know how to like spend a day just being like I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna admire how far you've come and make it meaningful. Like I don't quite know how to do that, but that's how I want to spend March 4th. I might end up just crying in bed. I might end up like being a complete disaster. But in my head, as I gear up for it, the attitude I have walking in is like, this is going to be a day to celebrate me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to do my absolute best to honor my son by showing him how far I've come. Because I think that's what he'd want to see. I think he'd want to see me like dancing at a concert on the day of his death anniversary.
Yeah. I think he's
That's
really proud.
I think so. And like, that's why I feel like I wouldn't want to tell myself anything. Even on March 5th or March 6th, a year ago, I don't think I have anything to say because I don't think I would have believed it.
That's true. I agree.
Like, I don't think I would have believed it if I said to him, like, okay, you're not going to be your happiest self. Things are going to be still really hard for you, but you're going to find joy again. I wouldn't have believed it. I wouldn't have believed that I was able to be pregnant again. I wouldn't have believed, I wouldn't have believed how hard life is. And even though life is so hard, I continue to live happily.
Yeah. I will say though, like I think some people said things like that to me, and like you were saying, like I did not believe them. But I think if I could come back and say to me, maybe I would believe it. But obviously I can't. That's not how it works.
I would just like give myself a really big hug and be like, let's cry together here.
Yeah.
Let's just lay on the floor here together. And I'm just going to sit. And like, if you have any questions, like I'll answer your questions, but I just say like my heart, I would feel like my heart is just like, I have a lot of empathy for that person. It's not like I look down on that person. It's not like I look at that person like she's incapable. I look at that person and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
This is really hard.
It is. It's really hard. Like, and even though we're saying like we've come so far, like even just, I think like, if I look at, 2 weeks out from the loss, like I'm just amazed at me just still being alive 2 weeks out from the loss. Like that was also incredible, even though I was non-functional and couldn't eat or sleep or anything. You know what I mean? Like even that was impressive, just remaining alive and breathing.
Yes. But at the same time, like what we're basically saying is the one thing that everyone says to us that drives us crazy. You're so brave, you're so strong. That's what we're saying.
But it feels good coming from me to me.
Yes, because I know the truth. That's like right. I know the truth,
Yeah. Anyway. We talk about this in the Wonder Woman episode. So if you guys want to hear more about that, we talk about that in that episode. I'll link it in the description.
Well, I want to talk about the meal last night. Okay. So, this past weekend. This past weekend, my husband and I went out for a Shabbat dinner. And this is something we're meeting all these new people and none of them know.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to share this feeling because I suspect that people have it. I feel guilty not saying anything about Aiden, but I also feel like it's inappropriate to say something, like to be at this table of people and for them to be like, oh, the first few weeks postpartum, like, you're not going to want to go anywhere. And I'm like, I know. Like, you don't have to tell me that. I know. And like, it's very hard because what am I supposed to say at that point? Actually, I have a son. Actually, this isn't my first time. Like, there's like people at this table and I'm just like, I'm supposed to say, and knowing the conversation is going to grind to a halt. Or
yeah,
like another example is the person was like, well, why don't you just send your kid to daycare? And I don't want to be like, do you know the statistics about daycare? Because I'm not risking that. Like,
yeah.
But I can't say that because I'm at a meal.
I mean, I will challenge you on that. You can say that.
Okay, let's practice.
However, I will also say you don't have to say that. Like, I think we are constantly having to do all this calculus of like, is this a place where I want to talk about it? Like, maybe I don't feel like talking about it right then, and that's fair too. Like, I don't think Quinn cares if I don't tell people about him. But also, I think you have to prioritize whatever feels good to you. Like, don't give a shit if they feel uncomfortable. Like,
but
who
it's not
cares? You're the one with the dead baby.
But Alina, here's the problem. The problem is you say something and then they get weird and then you feel weird.
Yes.
You feel weird, or because they say the wrong thing. Let's say they say something that's not thoughtful or not sensitive. So then you're like, now I feel worse and I wish I never told you. It's like, I don't tell people not because I necessarily am worried about their feelings, but I don't tell people because I'm worried about my feelings. I don't want to deal with them.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with, and so it's like, it's exhausting. I don't know how this fits into what we were talking about before, probably not at all, but like, it's exhausting, that mental calculus of like, how much do I disclose versus not disclose?
Yeah, it is exhausting. It's completely exhausting. I think that's one of the most common things I've heard people talk about in my support group. Like, that's just like an ongoing issue for the rest of your life. Like, how much of this do I want to talk about with the woman at the grocery store? Oh, is this your first? Like,
yeah.
How many kids do you have? Oh,
yeah. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
It's exhausting. I say, yeah, it's exhausting. And you like come up with answers, but then none of them feel right. I wish I could just have a pin on my shoulder and then everyone would be like, oh, that person lost a child. Let's be sensitive.
Mm-hmm. Buttons that say, I have a dead baby.
Ask me about him if you want. Yeah. Oh, you know what else? Sorry, one more thing we could talk about is the situation.
What's the situation?
When people call it a situation.
Oh, yes. The situation. Mike, the situation, Sorrentino.
Now, let me ask you a question, Alina. Has anyone ever said to you the situation?
Yeah, of course.
Like, okay, here's what we're talking about. When you're somewhere, I don't know where you are. Let's say you're at the doctor's office, or maybe
you're at the pelvic floor physical therapist, you're at the dentist, you're at the whatever.
You're at the dentist, and you tell them about what happened, or they see in your chart. Like in my case, a lot of times they see in my chart, and they'll say, I can understand why you'd be anxious in your situation.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like they're afraid to say the words.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure why they're afraid to say the words. Are they afraid to say the word to tell me that my son is dead? Because I know. Why? Or even, you know what? I saw a friend for coffee and she also said the same thing. She was like, you've had a lot, being the year you've had. And I'm like, that's what she said for an entire hour. She didn't say one time when Aiden died. She said, this past year, you've had a lot going on. Like everyone dances around it. So if you're someone who's supporting someone who's grieving, just say it, because like
we know,
and it makes us feel shitty when you dance around it, because it makes us feel like it's something dancing around worthy.
Yeah. You're not going to remind us.
You're not going to remind us.
We already know. We already
know. And you know what? We actually really like talking about it.
Yeah.
And we love when you hear it. We'd love to hear our kids' names. So if you said when Aiden died, I'd be like, oh, Dr. Lee, like, yeah. That's what happened.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's all I want to say about that. So have a really good time this weekend.
Thank you.
Monday. So you're working on Monday or you're not working?
No, I took Monday and Tuesday off of work. And then on Wednesday, I'm back in the office. Blah. All right. Thanks, guys, for listening to our rambling.
I'd say thank you so much for listening. And we've actually got a few a few Instagram messages and emails recently, and we love hearing from you. So if you feel on your heart you have something to say, please don't hesitate to reach out. We want to hear from you.
We really, really, really do. We love it. Okay. Bye, guys.
To all of our wonderful new friends, we want to hear from you. Email us at aslongasimlivingpodcast@gmail.com and follow us on Instagram at aslongasimlivingpodcast. We'll get back to you as soon as our grieving brains allow.